Tehran, March 17, 2026. As Operation Epic Fury enters its third week, the psychological and physical walls surrounding the Iranian regime are beginning to crumble. While the sky over Tehran remains choked with the black smoke of neutralized IRGC command centers, a new and more terrifying shadow has appeared on the horizon for the Iranian leadership, the unmistakable silhouette of American heavy armor. In a move that signals a potential shift from a punitive air campaign to a decisive ground contingency, the Pentagon has authorized the rapid deployment of M1A2 SEPV-3 Abrams tanks and M2A3 Bradley fighting vehicles to strategic jumping-off points across the Middle East. The Iron Bridge, massive airlift of heavy armor. The panic in Tehran reached a fever pitch early Tuesday following reports of a massive U.S. Air Force air bridge. Using a relentless rotation of C-17 Globemaster III and C-5M Super Galaxy transport aircraft, the U.S. Army's 3rd Squadron, 278th Armored Cavalry Regiment, Task Force Reaper, has begun offloading heavy combat vehicles at forward operating bases in the region. Unlike the slow sea lift operations of the past, this 2026 deployment is characterized by its velocity of force. The Abrams tanks, the most lethal ground combat systems in the world, are being integrated directly into combined arms formations alongside Bradleys. These units are designed for one purpose: to provide the hammer to the Air Force's anvil. The message is no longer about deterrence, noted a senior defense analyst. By moving Abrams and Bradleys to the front lines, the U.S. is signaling that it is prepared to secure key strategic objectives on the ground, whether that's nuclear sites, leadership bunkers, or critical energy hubs like Karg Island. Chaos in the capital, a regime in freefall. The sight of American armor moving toward the borders has triggered a wave of desertions within the regular Iranian military, Artesh, and even segments of the Basij militia. With internet traffic in Iran reportedly dropping by 45% due to regime-imposed blackouts and U.S. electronic warfare, the Iranian public is left in a vacuum of fear. The panic is not just among the civilians. The leadership structure is disintegrating. The leadership vacuum. Following the elimination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and Security Chief Ali Larijani, the remaining IRGC commanders are reportedly operating out of mobile, deep underground bunkers. Our economic paralysis. The rial has effectively ceased to function as a currency, and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz has turned Iran's primary source of wealth, oil, into a stranded asset. Internal unrest, emboldened by the external strikes. The remnants of the January 2026 protest movement have reportedly begun small-scale sabotage against security checkpoints in Tehran and Tabriz. Tactical superiority. Why the Abrams and Bradley matter. The deployment of heavy armor serves a dual purpose in the current 2026 conflict. While F-35s and Tomahawks have dismantled 85% of Iran's air defenses and 70% of its missile launchers, air power alone cannot hold territory or ensure the total destruction of deeply buried nuclear infrastructure. 1. Urban penetration. M2A3 Bradleys, equipped with advanced optics and tow missiles, are essential for clearing the urban corridors of Tehran and Karaj, where IRGC remnants may attempt a siege-style defense. 2. Force protection. The Abrams tank provides an impenetrable shield for U.S. and Allied ground personnel against the aging T-72 and Carrier tanks currently being mobilized by the Iranian regime. 3. Psychological warfare. The rumble of the tracks is a historical harbinger of regime change. For a regime that has spent decades promising the mother of all wars, the arrival of U.S. armor on its doorstep is a visual confirmation of their strategic failure. Beyond the immediate tactical advantages, the deployment of the M1A2 SEPV-3 Abrams and M2A3 Bradley serves a critical structural role in the decapitation strategy currently unfolding. These armored platforms are not merely weapons. They are mobile command and control hubs that allow U.S. forces to maintain a persistent, lethal presence in environments where air superiority alone is insufficient. By establishing iron corridors leading directly to the heart of the regime's power centers, the U.S. is effectively negating the IRGC's ability to regroup in the labyrinthine outskirts of Tehran. Furthermore, The integration of trophy active protection systems on the Abrams tanks has rendered the regime's extensive stockpile of Russian-made anti-tank guided missiles, ATGMs, virtually obsolete. This technological gap has created a profound capability shock within the Iranian ranks, as soldiers realize that their primary means of defense against ground invasion are being intercepted in midair. As these steel behemoths begin their synchronized push toward the capital, the logistical iron bridge from neighboring bases ensures that the momentum is never lost. The Karg Island contingency. Military sources indicate that the USS Tripoli and its associated Marine Expeditionary Unit, MEU, are coordinating closely with the arriving Army armor. The most immediate ground objective appears to be Karg Island. By seizing this aid, by 4KM Island, the U.S. would gain total control over Iran's oil export capacity, effectively ending the regime's ability to fund a prolonged resistance. The presence of Bradleys at nearby regional hubs ensures that any Iranian attempt to retake the island or launch a counter-amphibious assault would be met with overwhelming, high-velocity fire. The defining hour of 2026. As March 17th draws to a close, the Second Iran War has reached its most critical inflection point. The U.S. military is no longer just striking Iran. It is positioning itself to dismantle it. President Trump's administration has maintained a no-quarter stance, insisting that the operation will continue until the threat of a nuclear Iran is permanently extinguished. The world watches as the most sophisticated military machine in history prepares for what could be the final act of the Islamic Republic. Whether the regime collapses under the weight of its own panic or chooses a suicidal final stand in the streets of Tehran will determine the map of the Middle East for the next century. The humanitarian and political stakes have reached a fever pitch, as the potential for a vacuum of power looms over the entire Persian Gulf. Intelligence reports suggest that the Iranian military's Artesh and the ideological Revolutionary Guard are beginning to fracture, with mid-level officers facing the impossible choice between a hopeless defense and the preservation of their men. This internal friction is being exploited by U.S. psychological operations, which are broadcasting surrender instructions and promises of amnesty to those who lay down their arms. Meanwhile, the global energy crisis sparked by the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is forcing a drastic realignment of international alliances. European capitals, while wary of a protracted ground occupation, have largely fallen in line with the no-quarter policy, recognizing that a nuclear-armed Tehran is an existential threat to the continent's security. As the first Abrams tanks begin to move into their forward assembly areas, the roar of their turbine engines serves as a mechanical countdown for a regime that has run out of time. The shadow of the Second Iran War is no longer just a regional conflict. It is the catalyst for a total reconfiguration of global power, leaving the Islamic Republic with a choice between immediate surrender or total erasure.